On the topic of the buyer-seller dynamic in social interactions, which is this idea that in any social interaction, there's one person reacting more to the other person than that person is reacting to you. I'm going to break into this with a story of one of my very, very best friends today. This guy is amazing. What's up, bro? I'm making this video for you. And he actually was left by his wife of 6 or 7 years today. So you could imagine that his entire world has just been ripped to shreds. The reason why I think this is an important story is because this is somebody who I consider to be very, very heroic. This is one of the great heroes that we have in our country, one of the most important people in our country. He's somebody who worked in some of the most important roles and is doing the kind of work right now that takes incredible courage. And he's the kind of person that I believe deserves support. So to watch him go through this, to watch him have his life shredded, is obviously very, very sad to me. But I'm going to tell you a little story about some things that I taught him today just over the phone. So this is kind of a funny story. So what happened was that his wife left him. And by the way, if you're a woman with a husband, I think this exact same lesson could apply to you as well. But his wife left him, and he felt really, really betrayed. And he'd been really broken up over it all week. Very, very, very betrayed. Very, very messed up. Look, I've been there myself. I completely understand this. And so he said, she's come over, she's moving out her stuff, and she's leaving. And I said, listen, I want you to do one thing for me, okay? I want you to do one thing for me before she leaves. And I'm going to put a caveat on this. I knew that he would do it, but that he would kind of back down from it. I actually didn't want him to do this thing because if he had done this properly, she would have come back to him, in my opinion, okay? And so I don't want her to come back to him because she's already been hooking up with somebody else, and I'm afraid he would take her back, and I think that would permanently destroy him. But I wanted him to see it sort of kind of working, and I knew that he would mess it up. What's up, bro? I knew he'd kind of mess it up at some point, but I wanted to see him to see this kind of working just so that when he goes back to being single, he would understand this basic principle. So what I said was, when you see her, just joke around. It's really not a big deal. And just say, hey, you know what? If you feel this is the best direction, I trust your instincts on it. And just really don't make it any kind of a big deal at all. And I said, go do this. So he went out as she's leaving, and he just started joking around with her. They were just laughing, almost like they first met. Rather than sitting there doing, rolling around in the dirt in tears, he just said, hey, I trust you. If your instinct thinks that this is best for both of us, I completely trust you. You're spot on. You're incredibly intelligent. I trust you. And then he basically just joked around and didn't make it a big deal. Well, of course, what happened? She started crying profusely, asking to come back. And then what happened was, they were hugging, and she's already been messing around with somebody else, so they really shouldn't get back together. But the point is that they're hugging, and apparently, she looks up at him to kiss him, and then she says, "Do you really mean it? Do you really mean what you said?" And he actually blurted out. He goes, and it was funny because he left me an audio message about it. He's like, "Bro, I've never lied to her. I just want to tell the truth. I've never lied to her." And he says, "Well, to be honest, Owen told me to say it." Right? And then she apparently started screaming and crying and then drove off. But anyway, the point being is that this is a basic, simple understanding of something called the buyer-seller dynamic, right? And it's terrifying to consider that you could have been with somebody and, you might have invested hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars into that relationship, into perhaps taking them places and providing for them. And you put in, years and years or decades of getting to know somebody and connecting with them. And then none of that counts for almost anything. But then something as simple as the buyer-seller dynamic could make somebody, after they've cheated on you, want to come back. This is something that I understand very, very well. And in fact, for myself in breakups, oftentimes what I'll do is I kind of have my reverse test where I will actually act how my buddy did and want to come across kind of broken apart or sad because, frankly, I don't want to do some kind of a voodoo thing and have the person stay just because I'm spinning a little bit of voodoo. I don't want that. I always know that I can do the voodoo. I know that the voodoo's there, but I don't want to use the voodoo because I don't personally want to be in a relationship with somebody where there's voodoo involved. I just want to be myself. However, and this is what you have to understand, generally speaking, if that buyer-seller dynamic has broken down, generally speaking, that thing is dead in the water, okay? This has to be understood at a very, very high level. So my buddy literally calls me up, and he calls me, he's like, "What kind of voodoo magic was that?" And he's like, he's like, she's been looking at me like she doesn't even know me anymore. Like she doesn't even recognize who I am. That soft look in the eyes is gone. Just trying to get rid of me for the past week. And then as soon as I did this, it was like everything was okay. But then I messed it up when I said that you told me to say it, right? Well, what was happening here was, like I said, it's the buyer-seller dynamic. It's the situation where one person is the person who is giving the validation, and the other person is the person who is seeking the validation. And this is where a lot of interpersonal dynamics occur. There's a lot of social dynamics that occur here. And like I said, in any social interaction, there's always one person reacting more to the other person than that person is reacting to them, okay? So this was something that I've understood for years and years and years. And it's something that you want to understand at a very high level. So how do you get it to where the buyer-seller dynamic is in your favor? Okay, so that you're somebody who's deciding whether or not to buy socially, where the other person is selling themselves to you. How do you establish a frame like that? Believe it or not, the words are a lot less important than your inner psychology and your day-to-day passions and purpose and hobby and so on and so forth. It's something like what I told him to say, where he just said, hey, this is cool, whatever, right? That's something that I understand at a high level because I've had a dating life for 20 years, so I understand that, I've been in different relationships and, someone comes to you and says, I've had enough, I'm done. And then if you're like, no, please, then they typically run away and you never see them again. If you're like, okay, then they're like, what? Right? Then they stick around, right? So if you want to get rid of the person, then what you do is you play sad. And then if you want to keep them, then you say, okay, I understand a lot of people have a different opinion on this. Don't worry about the 20 years that I've done this. Don't worry about the thousands of clients that I've had. Just worry about your opinion. All right. So anyway, point being is that, and by the way, there's a time and a place to break every rule. Every situation's different, but that's just a general rule. But the funny thing is that when you break the rule, you're usually rationalizing, and it'll usually turn out that the rule is true. But occasionally, sometimes somebody needs a little more reassurance, okay? And so don't feel like you have to stick to that. Don't stick to any social rule I ever teach you hard and fast, okay? But generally speaking, for me, if there's a fish in a relationship that I'm in, if I want to keep it, I just go, hey, cool. If you feel that that's best, that's okay. And then I just go enjoy my life, and then it'll usually continue the relationship. Versus if I'd like to end it, then what I'll do is I'll do the more sad thing, right? But I'm doing that as my own little test, because if I did the sad thing, and then the person wanted to stay anyway, I would assume that means that they really, really deeply love me, and then I probably would want to stay with them. So it's kind of like a test that I'm doing as well. But keep in mind that what I'm doing as a test on my end is what most people do as their default to try to fix things, which is actually proven to not work. Why? Like we said, it's the validation it's the validation seesaw, it's the buyer-seller dynamic. So people generally are looking for a quick fix. They're looking to find some kind of way to fix this. And the truth is, it's not about a quick fix at all. It's not a quick fix. It is a lifestyle. It is your inner psychology. It's how you carry yourself. And we're going to be going very, very deep in this. By the way, we're going to cover this here, but you want to know a great place to learn this? Look right here, Los Angeles, California, the final free event that we're going to be doing for a long time, for at least half a year. Get to this event in LA, okay? Fly in for this. It's going to be running December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. It's going to be off the chains. I'm going to be there. The team's going to be there. We're going to be going totally crazy, and I've made this 3 full days so that anybody can justify flying in, okay? So if you want to fly in December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th to Los Angeles, California, it's going to be by far the best event of the year. I live in LA, okay? I live in the Hollywood Hills. I'm up here right now. If you put that little side shot, you'll see that's LA in the background out there. And if you're in LA, get here for sure, okay? We're going to be going super duper deep. But also, by the way, if you're from San Diego, even if you just came to our event in San Diego, drive up. This one's going to be completely different. If you're in San Francisco, Phoenix, Vegas, anywhere around California, anywhere in Arizona, Nevada, or anywhere in the world, fly in. We're going to be doing all Friday night. And then we're going to go all day Saturday, and we're going to go all day Sunday. There's going to be hundreds of people there. It's going to be an awesome crowd. We're going to be giving our very best content. It's all completely and utterly for free. Networking with the people there, experiencing the energy in real life, and learning the kind of content, because a lot of it I don't post here online. Okay, the experience of being there for 3 full days. Basically, this is the equivalent of like the World Summit that we used to do, and we don't do World Summit anymore. So if you actually always wanted to attend basically a World Summit, we're basically just doing it for free now. It's an event that we used to charge a couple $1,000 for. So if you want to be at basically the equivalent of the World Summit, 3-day full event, Los Angeles, fly in. I don't care if you're from Europe. I don't care if you're from Asia. You need to fly in for this. It's going to be worth it. You're going to thank me that you did. We are going to be covering the very best in social skills. If you want to get amazing socially, you got to be here in LA this upcoming weekend, December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. If you want to get better at making money, we're going to be covering tons and tons and tons on making money, building a brand, communication, spiritual growth, happiness, being an emotionally centered person, expanding, social conditioning, breaking out of the matrix, becoming your best self. We are going to be covering the most cutting edge content in LA. You got to be there, okay? December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I'm so excited to meet you in person. Click the link below. Los Angeles, California, this last one that we're doing for a long time. I've just finished a big tour. Okay, we did a huge tour. Do you remember the tour? I actually remember. We did Philadelphia, New York City. We did Seattle, San Francisco. We did, I said I was bragging, I remember, but I don't quite remember right now. We did Chicago. We did Chicago. We did Dallas, Houston, Austin, Boston, DC, San Diego. Did I miss any so far? We did Miami earlier this year. And then LA is the final one. It's the final one on the tour. I've been touring like crazy. So make sure that you come to this final event. We made this one 3 full days. Doesn't matter if you've been to a previous event. Get to that LA event. You're going to love it. It's going to be such a great event. So incredible. Can't wait to meet you in person. We're going to blow your mind. We're actually going to be doing a lot of exercises, things that we never post online, and taking you through our famous process that we only do at the event. It's going to be awesome. Now, if you're, by the way, we're about to get into our main content. If for whatever reason you can't fly in, you really should just fly in. Fly in. Do it. But if for whatever reason you can't do it, well, I've also built an entirely free course, okay, right here, higherpurposeprogram.com. This is a long and extensive and organized course, very, very well organized and structured, not off the cuff like a lot of the videos that I post. I wrote this thing in advance, highly structured. If you're in Higher Purpose Program already, go back in and make sure that you actually watch it. But if 10,000 people or 15,000 people watch this live eventually, there needs to be 10 or 15,000 people inside Higher Purpose Program. Make sure that you get in there. It is going to be life-changing when you see what's in there. It is the kind of content that I am not posting here online. Not posting this content online. It's done in quick banger videos that are all leveled in a row, all about those original gangster social skills that I don't talk a lot about very much anymore, and about the fundamentals and foundations of personal growth, which anything that you're watching online from me, if you haven't seen this course, you're not going to fully understand. So I want to create something that puts you up to speed very, very quickly. It's got a lot of advanced personal development concepts in it. Higher Purpose Program. Again, if 10 or 15K people watch this live, there needs to be 10 or 15K people seeing this. You owe it to yourself to get in here. Just click the link. Get inside the program. Ideally, you fly in for LA, get the free education in person, and then you do this right now. You just get this done, okay? So really, really excited for you to do that. I've created an incredible free resource here to change your life. If you want to get better socially, make more money, get better at marketing, get better at sales, become somebody who's centered, become somebody who's confident, release trauma. You want to get better at meeting new people, attracting new people. You just want to smash it, break out the matrix, become your full potential. You need to come meet me in person in LA, and you need to get inside a Higher Purpose Program and start watching this and actually go through it. You're going to love this program. Excited for you. Let's keep going on this content, okay? But get in there. All right, so the basic deal is this. What I want you to do is I want you to just to understand this thing called the validation seesaw, or the buyer-seller dynamic, and realize that in any social interaction, there is one person reacting more to the other person than that person is reacting to them. So even with my buddy in a marriage of 7, 8 years, whatever it is, and my buddy is a hero. He's an absolute hero. He's a very, very heroic person. None of that mattered. Irrelevant, garbage, trash, irrelevant. This person, many of the freedoms that you have, he helped to curate. You have benefited from his existence. None of that mattered. What mattered was when he just walked up and said, hey, you know what? If you feel this is for the best, it's all good. I trust you. It's all good. And then just joked around and had fun. Boom, in tears. Boom, trying to get back together until he said, no, Owen told me to say it. Okay? So that's the buyer-seller dynamic. Understand, if you want the person to leave, grovel. If you want the person to say, do what I told him to do. It's the buyer-seller dynamic. There's exceptions to that rule. Don't follow what I say dogmatically. Don't base your relationship decisions based on what I said. I'm just giving you what I've generally seen. It's your life. There's exceptions to every rule, okay? Sometimes you got to talk to the person. That can help too, sometimes. Now, going from there, what is it that my buddy's going to have to do over the next several years, okay? Because she's out of his life. What is he going to have to do? Well, what's happened is that she's now dating some crypto millionaire, right? She's slim, She has a high metabolism, and via being slim, having a cute face, and a high metabolism, she's now the crypto millionaire. Okay, so she's off. She's run off with the circus. Okay, gone. Not coming back. His life has been ripped to shreds. His existence has been ripped to shreds. Well, what happened with my buddy? You know, what mistakes did he make? He believed in his mind that because he's married, that she could never leave. Okay, by the way, this is not a guy-girl thing. This goes for both genders. This is a dual gender thing. The example that I'm using is my buddy with his wife. That happens to be the case. But I have female friends that have lost their husbands in the exact same way. So this goes for both sides. He believed that because he was optimizing for being a provider, he believed that he was adding value to the relationship. Okay? But I can remember we were down in Miami together, and he brought his wife down, and I could see that glint in the eye because I said, let's go out and eat. And we went out and eat at this restaurant called Mila in Miami. It's a great restaurant in South Beach called Mila. And I remember seeing her with him out in Mila. And I could see that glint in the eye that she was a little too excited to be out in South Beach. You could see it. You could absolutely see that glint in the eye. And you could see that she was being understimulated. And I warned my buddy. I said, you know, you live here in Florida. Why don't you take her up to Savannah, Georgia for a weekend? Why don't you take her up to St. Augustine for a weekend? Why don't you drive her down the Florida Keys for a weekend? Why don't you take her out for a night to dance or something like that? I'm like, bro, you got to do this, or within 6 to 12 months, this girl's going to be out of your life. And I think he did it to an extent, but he didn't do it fully. And unfortunately, she was understimulated, and she wanted to be stimulated. Now, the fact that this person is a hero of national importance, and that he's basically sacrificed so much, that doesn't matter, but I'll tell you why. Because when she met him, at the time he was living in New York, he was smashing in the gym. He was in the best shape of his life. He was doing marathons. And also he was running some of the sickest parties in all of New York. He's running these super exclusive parties. So she met him as this person who's running parties and jacked. Now, later, as he's become a hero of national importance and somebody who's sacrificed himself in many ways and works around the clock to make the world a better place, he's become more intelligent, and he's somebody who I think is more formidable and somebody who's contributed more, but that was not contributing to the buyer-seller dynamic. And so he allowed himself to kind of, fall off. And yes, he's providing more income for the household, which is nice, but he's falling off. And at some point, she's going to, they live in a suburb around Miami. At some point, she's going to go to Miami South Beach. And of course, there's a situation where she's probably regularly nagging him and getting under his skin, and then he's taking on a lot of her energy. And then what's going to happen is now a lot of her energy that she's been dumping into him has been impacting him. He's kind of fending that off. He's doing his work, which is very heroic. And then what winds up happening is that she's going to wind up meeting somebody in South Beach who has been single for a long time, hasn't been getting poison dripped, hasn't had a girl, kind of getting into his psyche, girl like dragging him down. Again, this applies to men and women. This is not gender specific at all. At all. It's something that happens between couples, same sex, opposite sex, men, women, whatever. But what's going to happen is she's going to go out to Miami, and somebody who's just been going out and having fun is going to walk up, and this person is going to be a lot of fun and just a lot more energy. And then, of course, my buddy has been advancing in his career, but she hasn't really been advancing in her career. And a way for her to feel like her life is expanding and growing, and that her life's advancing and moving forward, is to meet somebody new. And so she goes down there and she meets some crypto person, and then they're off hooking up. Doesn't matter how long they've been married. So what's going on there? My buddy was no longer a source of validation. Doesn't matter that he's a hero. Doesn't matter that he's changed the world. What matters is that he's no longer a source of validation. Now, for 2 seconds before he said Owen told me to say that, he became a source of validation. He could have saved his marriage. But thank God he didn't, because she had cheated. Because she had cheated. And so it's very, very important that he did not save his marriage. So it's actually, what my buddy got was actually the best of both worlds, where he saw the mechanism that is going to be the mechanism that he's going to have to rebuild organically, okay? Because you can say some little line, and perhaps that generates, the buyer-seller dynamic and the validation seesaw in your favor for 30 seconds, but that's not going to do it for a lifetime. So how do you do it for a lifetime? In my view, what you want to be doing is you've got to be thinking to yourself, how do I get to the point where I am so incredibly happy in my life? How do I do that? So one thing that he stopped doing was he stopped doing parties, right? When they met, he was doing parties. He stopped. I've had that. I've had it where I'm with somebody, where I'm throwing a party that I created, right? That's who I was when I met that person. But then I think to myself, well, I can optimize our relationship if I stop doing parties. Then they get annoying. And then I've done stupid things like being like, if I just started doing parties again, then would you like me? Right? And it's like, don't say it. Just like when he said, Owen told me to say that, it ruined it. If you're going to do parties, just do parties. Don't be like, do I need to do parties? Like as if you're somehow like escaping the work of doing parties just by putting it in the person's imagination or something like that. That's not realistic. Either do or do not. Like Master Yoda would say, do or do not. Either do it or don't. But that would be an example. Now, why would you do parties? Are you doing parties deliberately because you suck and you need to do it as compensation? If you're doing it from that perspective, it's going to blow up in your face. Rather, it's something that you do for your own version of joy. Do you like seeing your friends? Do you like being around other people other than maybe just your significant other that nags you a lot, right? Do you want to be around other friends that have joy? When I do parties up here, and I've been doing them again lately, I like having a bunch of my friends up here and people are laughing and people are having fun and dancing around and joking around. I could post up videos of some of the old parties that I used to do. They were so incredibly fun and they were spiritually renewing. Okay, so what winds up happening is that if you get to a point where you're no longer spiritually renewed and you're just working all the time and you think that you're adding income to the household or that you're changing the world, but you're not doing anything to renew your spirit. So now you're not really cracking jokes very much. You're not really that joyful. You're kind of just beat down, but you're like, but no, I'm adding income to the household. Well, that's not going to do anything, right? So you've got to get back, not just, parties are amazing, but it's not just about doing parties. It's also about doing anything that brings you joy. So getting back to certain hobbies. I've had this myself. It's like I'm so focused on work that I'm not getting to do things that bring me joy. And as a result of that, what winds up happening is, let's say that you're in a relationship and let's say the person is naggy. If the person who you're with is emotionally dysregulated, then what happens is that it's like if you started here emotionally stable and they're here, they'll wind up here and you'll wind up here, right? And then eventually they get bored and annoyed of you because you're not the same person. So they actually start going out and then they meet all these fun single people and then they start to go here and then you get insecure and then you go here and then boom, the dynamics reverse and they leave. It's a very, very common story that happens all the time. So, things like, this sounds funny to say, but like things like maintaining swagger. Like what is swagger? Swagger is like these little jokes that you tell, this way that you move, this way that you talk, this way that you joke around, the way that you tell stories, the way that you dress, that has energy to it. But when you get into a relationship where you're just trying to add income to the household, oftentimes what happens is that a lot of that stuff falls by the wayside because you're getting charisma-free intimacy. You're getting swagger-free intimacy. So you stop optimizing for swag, and swag is something that gets built kind of like via your RAS, like what your selective focus is picking up, right? So if you're out, say it's with your friends and you're out, and let's say that a little funny joke happens. If all that you're thinking about and all that your selective focus is thinking is, how do I optimize to bring money into the household? Well, then what winds up happening is that little joke happens. A, you don't even laugh at it or enjoy it, but B, you don't internalize that joke. But if you're somebody who, for example, if you're actively single and then you see a funny little joke, you might sort of laugh with that joke. Then you wind up kind of you wind up kind of like taking on that joke, like you wind up kind of like internalizing that joke yourself. Like you wind up like having your own version of that joke. You wind up taking on that good energy. And so as a result of that becomes a part of your repertoire. Maybe you see some funny little dance, some little funny way of moving. Maybe you see like a cool shirt, and so on and so forth. You're like, oh, I'm going to get my version of that, right? So you wind up building swagger. But if all that you're thinking is, how do I optimize for my charisma and swag for intimacy and then bring money in the household, you're leaving yourself extremely vulnerable for other people to come and scoop away the person who you think is your soulmate or the love of your life. And then add to that you're very, very focused on your career and you're growing, but maybe they're not growing in their career. And then somebody comes along who pays them a lot of attention and makes them feel special. And then it makes them feel as though they're growing. That can set things off as well. Okay. And some of these situations can be absolutely bizarre and over the top. Like, it's the kind of thing where you'd really have to see this to believe it, but it's something that's is common to happen. It happens regularly, and don't think that you're above it. It can absolutely happen to you. So again, passions, hobbies, things that nourish you, parties, swagger, keeping your humor, and so on and so forth are things that you have to do. Now, I want you to think a little bit more too about how does this whole dynamic, how does this occur, say, like out at a nightclub or something like that? How does it occur out there? Well, let's say that you go out to a bar or club. A lot of people don't realize this, but there's a validation seesaw. And so what'll happen is you're talking to somebody, and in any interaction, you can detect who it is that has more validation. You can detect in any interaction who it is that's the buyer and who it is that's the seller. You can detect in any interaction who has the good emotions with them and who is the person who does not have the good emotions with them. You could actually detect this very, very easily. So it comes through in things like the way that you're using your vocal tone, the way that you laugh at different jokes, the way that you make it a big deal or not a big deal, right? Like it's one thing to walk up and meet somebody and then you're kind of just like, haha, yeah, haha, yeah. And it's like you're a little too excited. And then what winds up happening is that it's like they can feel that like your selective focus, your RAS, reticular activation system, is too much on them. It's like you're making too big of a deal of it. And then your cadence is very rapport-seeking. You're like, oh, nice. It's like very, very rapport-seeking cadence. And your body language is a little bit too eager. And they can feel that. That's very different than you being the dominant anchor of the conversation and you being the dominant, the most stable energy of the conversation, and then everybody's self-qualifying to you, and then you're laying back and you're talking to multiple different people and nobody gets your full attention. And then maybe if somebody earns your full attention, like, all right, I'll talk more to you. And then you talk more, you don't maybe even say that, but you just sort of do it. And then you talk to them, you look them deep in the eye, and then they feel the full blast of your attention. And then they have that full attention, but then you pull it away and then talk with other people as well. Not because you're doing that tactically, but because you're grounded in your own energy and nobody's that big of a deal. You don't know them. Why should they get all of your attention and focus when you don't even know them? Yes, you're being courteous and friendly and gregarious, but it doesn't mean that you're pedestalizing somebody or idealizing them when you don't even know them, okay? Emotionally healthy people don't pedestalize or idealize people who they haven't even met. That's actually a common thing in cluster B, like borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, where people idealize those who they just met and love bomb them as a way to hook them in. It's known as being weird behavior. So it's one of the, you can look all that stuff up. So it's one of these things where nobody's that big of a deal. You're the anchor of the conversation. You are by far the coolest person in that venue. You are by far the coolest person that person's ever met. None of this is a big deal to you at all. And literally you can feel whether or not this is happening because when you're talking to the person, you can feel your own energy in your body, feeling good, feeling happy. And what's entertaining you? Your swag is entertaining you. It's called self-amusement as opposed to reaction seeking. Your swag is keeping you entertained. You are entertained by the way that you talk, the jokes that you say, the things that you say, the way that you feel in your body, the way that you move, the way that you dance around, joke around, the energy of the environment, your friends that are with you, your own amazing memories that you have in your own head, your own pride in who you are, your own high self-esteem. Like you are high off of your own high self-esteem. Why is it that even though I'm completely against alcohol, that alcohol has helped people to be socially successful for millions of years? Because alcohol is a hack that gives you a fake version of that. Just like how marijuana gives you a fake version of being mentally stable in day-to-day life, even though you're a freaking train wreck who's emotionally dysregulated, but you'll tell yourself that you're stable because you're high. Right? So these are hacks that people use because they lack real swag, they lack real confidence, called liquid courage. It means that you're a coward. Likewise with marijuana, it means that you're not an emotionally stable person. You're using something else to emotionally stabilize you. It means that you have work to do and you're taking a credit card away. You're just basically taking a credit card saying, I'll do this work later. Okay, you should never ever need weed or alcohol to be funny, to be social, to be emotionally stable in any way, shape, or form. I know that you view them as a hobby, but understand that when you're naturally able to get a high off your own present energy, that's actually taking your energy down. But you probably never experienced that, so you don't have a context for that. It means that you have work to do. So as you build this energy and you're meeting people out, they will typically begin to self-qualify. You'll feel this. Now, again, you can use little gimmicks to generate this, like, are you adventurous? If you're not adventurous, I can't hang out with you. You can say things like that, but ultimately, better than saying, are you adventurous? If you're not adventurous, I can't hang out with you. Better is actually to be somebody who could easily walk away, somebody who's clear in your own frame, clear in your own values, clear in your own energy. But it's not enough just to be a loser that's clear, like, I just like being a loser. That's not enough. It's about being a winner who's awesome and then owning it. Okay, so it's a two-part thing. You don't just get to be some complete loser who's miserable and depressed and negative and then say, well, I own that. That's me. I mean, maybe there'd be a certain sub-niche of people that are into that, but that's not really what you're looking to do. So this is the kind of thing that you always want to be building. So what I would ask you very, very simply, okay, this is a simple question that I would put to you is, Are you somebody who's living your best life? Do you have things that you love to do? Are you excited with the direction of your life? Are you somebody who has great friends? Do you put on parties and it doesn't have to be a giant rager in the Hollywood Hills, but do you put on get-togethers? Do you have friends of both sexes? I always have a lot of incredible female friends. It is so incredibly important for me to have the best female friends. When I meet somebody who I really, really like, the last thing that I want to do is date them, because if I date them, that has a shelf life, but as a friend, that can last a lifetime. So I'm looking to make somebody who I really, really like and even am attracted to, I'm often looking to make them my best friend because of the fact that I can keep them around for the next 10 years and they are going to be pumping my state and loading me with positive emotions day after day after day after day forever. And as a result of that, I'm going to have incredible success when I go out or incredible success at my parties, and I'm going to have a ton of social proof. So, sometimes I'll take that to the next level, and that could be fun, but then it will have a shelf life. So you've got to kind of decide, do I want to kind of cash out the value of this in this one big explosion, or would I rather keep this around? You got to kind of decide that. That also shouldn't be a fear point for you, though, if you do meet someone that you really do like, because I could picture a lot of guys saying, oh, I'm not going to do anything because I'm doing that plan that Owen said, when in reality you're just a coward. So that should only be happening if you're not a coward. That shouldn't be a fear point that you're doing because you don't know exactly how to proceed. So, okay, now from there, again, friends of the opposite sex, hobbies, passions. But another part of it is also just your inner psyche. What does your belief system look like? Do you have your inner cheerleaders on your team? When you look in the mirror, do you smile, or when you look in the mirror, do you feel like crap? Are you very, very present to the moment or not present to the moment? Do you carry a lot of trauma that you haven't released yet? Okay, so if you're carrying around, if you're kind of pushing down this beach ball of trauma all the time, and then you have negative beliefs about yourself, and then your self-talk is bad, then you struggle to get present to the moment, then you're, let's say that you've been doing drugs and alcohol, which is messing your brain up, so maybe it works to some extent while you're on it, but it's messing up your brain. Maybe you're failing to do meditation, you're not eating the right foods, your life's not going in a good direction. Well, all of that is going to have an impact on that buyer-seller dynamic, or who it is that has the right energy. All of it. So you want to be doing that. Now, this is going to be huge when you go out to bars and clubs. It's going to be huge at parties, and people are going to feel that coming off of you. If you're somebody whose life sucks, but you just want to start getting better results now, another way that you could also quickly generate that is just building social momentum. That building of social momentum on any given night where you just go out and kind of just start meeting everybody, like I've taught for many years, called it the 6 steps, things like that. That building of social momentum is a hack that is a sober version of getting drunk. So even if my life is going terrible and there's not a lot of good things in my life, a way that I can make myself sober, like feeling drunk but sober, basically sober drunk or drunk sober, is by building a ton of social momentum and just running around the venue, just talking to everybody and laughing and having fun. And that is also another way that you can build that, okay? So that's another hack. But again, like alcohol, we can use hacks temporarily, but we also want to actually have real confidence. We want to have real self-esteem. Now, what is it that my buddy should be doing? Okay, so let me think about this for a minute. What should my buddy do over the next couple years? Here's the first thing that he needs to understand, okay? First thing that my buddy's got to understand is that his victory is coming much, much later. It's not coming anytime soon. And here's the reason why that is, okay? My buddy's victory is coming later because he optimized to be a provider. So it's late here, guys. You're seeing this tomorrow. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm just going to catch this right before I go to bed. So my buddy became a provider. He thought that he was optimizing to bring money into the household. He thought that he was optimizing to be a hero, and he believed that. So what he's going to have to do, not to get attraction, but to change his own self-esteem, is he's going to have to become somebody completely new. Because the person that he is now, he has associations to that person as such a discarded loser that he's going to have to bounce back. So the first thing that he's got to do tomorrow is he's got to go to the gym. Not because you need that for attraction. I've been in the worst shape of my life. Attraction's easy. If you can't get attraction in bad shape, it's because you suck. You don't know what you're doing. You suck. Okay? Put me beside anybody out of shape. Well, I'm out of shape. I will hold my own. Okay? If you can't hold your own while you're out of shape, that's because you suck. That said, my buddy's got to start going to the gym because he is sick with himself. He doesn't like who he is anymore. So he's got to start going to the gym, and he's got to start changing how he feels and what it is that he looks like to become somebody new. Then what he should do is he should get out of that house because he's got a lot of great memories in that house. He should probably come crash with me for a little bit, get into a different city, or just go do something else. But not everybody has the luxury to do that, but that's what I'd recommend to him. Then the next thing that he's got to do is he's got to start going out regularly again, and it's going to suck, and he's going to absolutely hate it because When you love your ex, the last thing that you want to do is go hook up with somebody else. You just want your ex back, right? And he's going to have to sit there just freaking flaccid and just force himself to go through the motions of meeting new people. And it's going to super duper suck and he's going to hate it, but there's no way out of it. He's just got to go do it. And so what's going to happen is, whereas for the past 6 or 7 years, he's been this kind of brain in a vat and basically just working and optimizing for the household. Now, all of a sudden, if he previously had 16 hours a day to work, he's probably going to need about 4 hours to work on his body because, between cardio, hiking, stretching, working out, sauna, cold plunge, all that stuff. And then he's probably going to need about another 4 hours to work on going out. So he's going to go because he runs a business. So he's going to go from a 16-hour workday to about an 8-hour workday. But here's the upside. Because he was being bickered with, realistically, the aftershocks of the bickering were probably depleting him, right? Because he might have been bickering for, say, an hour and a half a day, but there's aftershocks of that bickering that puts you into a bad state and defocuses you. That's similar to losing, half of your workday, right? That bickering, I've typically experienced to where if I've gotten out of a relationship where there's a lot of bickering, typically I'll make double to triple the amount of revenue within 6 weeks, even while depressed, just because the bickering is so depleting that by the time that you get back to work, you can't focus. So you're sitting there depressed about what happened, but literally you're not bickering anymore, so you get your focus back. So my buddy's gonna have to learn how to be efficient. He's gonna have to basically say to himself, okay, how can I be efficient, and how can I, rather than working a 16-hour workday, how can I work a 8-hour workday and then have enough time to work on my body, have enough time to go out, have enough time to get back on my passions, on my purpose, like all that kind of stuff. He's gonna basically have to go into that, okay? So from that angle, that's going to be a lifestyle shift. And literally when he first starts working out, his muscles are going to be sore. He's not going to want to work out. He's going to be winded with the cardio. He's going to say, this sucks. He's like, I just want my cuddle buddy back. I just want my security blanket back. Then when he starts going out, he's going to think that the people are low quality, and he's going to say that they suck. And then this sucks. Why do I have to go through this? Why can't I have my cuddle buddy back? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he's going to have to go through that. And it's going to be a metamorphosis. It's going to be a cold, harsh world out there. It's going to be very, very tough. And he's going to have to go through that. And what's going to wind up happening is in about 2 years to 3 years, he's going to have his victory because he's going to be in a completely different shape. He's going to have somebody who's way, way better, somebody who's not bickering with him. And on the way, he's going to have had a lot of incredible experiences. So that is the process that he's going to have to go through. And he's going to have to reestablish it to where he is the source of good emotions. Because what happened was, by him becoming this brain in a vat that was just making money, it's a situation where, she's got a high metabolism, she's got a cute face, she goes out, she's good to go within 2 seconds, right? She's already off, in some wild new love affair with somebody new. But he's going to be in a situation where, think about it this way, right? When he met this person, he was doing parties, he was in shape, he was in the peak of his existence as far as attractiveness. Then he thought that by providing money for the household and being a hero, he thought that that was helping attraction, but it wasn't. So what's going to happen is now he has optimized to be a provider. He doesn't have swagger. He doesn't have cool clothes. He doesn't even know where to go out. He wouldn't even know where to start. He's in Miami. Where's he going to go? The Clevelander? He doesn't even know where to go out. He doesn't know where to go out. He doesn't know where a gym is. He doesn't know how to get in shape. He doesn't know any of this stuff. So he's going to have to go back, and he's going to have to get back on top of all this stuff. And the big thing that he's also got to do is that if he meets somebody new, resist getting too deep with them. Don't just jump on the first option, okay? Her jumping on the first option, that's up to her. He shouldn't do that. He should keep pressing forward and building and building and building and building. Get the parties raging. Get into momentum. Get your social skills sharp. Get into your best shape. Do everything to be, and again, you don't need to be in shape at all in order to meet somebody. I do it all the time when I'm out of shape. I'm not in perfect shape right now. I promise you I can go to meet somebody. But the point is that you want to do it to be that different person, okay? And then what happens is that your victory comes a little bit later. The main key is you want to get it to where by the time that you see that person again, you're making at least 3 times more. You've had a lot of amazing experiences, and you're with somebody like triple, quadruple, 10x better. And if you're somebody who is developing yourself, you will always meet a better person every time because you don't track what you want, you track what you are. And so it is a truism that you don't attract what you want, you track what you are. And if you're into personal growth and growing, that means that you're going to attract somebody better. But here's the main key. If my buddy isn't careful, if my buddy wakes up tomorrow and he doesn't go to the gym, if my buddy wakes up tomorrow and he doesn't go out, now what's happening is that he has the exact same life. Nothing's changed. And then what's going to happen is that he's sitting in that same life but without his cuddle buddy. And then he's going to have to think of his cuddle buddy off on an adventure with somebody else, and that's going to drive him insane. And then that's going to mess with his brain's neurochemistry. And that's going to hurt him. And some people are driven to the point of self-harm or self-termination when this occurs. Okay, and there's a lot of people who have lost their wives or husbands or anything who've ended their own life. And I know what it feels like to feel that way. I've been there. I know that feeling of total betrayal, of life being totally in disarray and feeling empty. And so he's got to begin to fight back against that immediately. He cannot allow himself to be satisfied with just saying, okay, I'm just going to sit here and work all the time. My cuddle buddy's gone and my life sucks now. He's got to come back with a vengeance. And what that doesn't mean is he doesn't have a 16-hour workday anymore, because one of the things that he was probably doing wrong on his end was he's working all the time and then just kind of, having her around to meet his needs. He thought that because he's bringing money in the household that meets her needs, but it doesn't. And so that's probably something a little bit unfair that he was doing. And I get it, I've been there too. So the point is that he's got to realize now, like, no, I don't just get to work 16 hours a day anymore. I've got to put time into my body. I've got to put time into going out. I've got to put time into my passions, my purpose, and my emotions and healing. He's got to put time into all that. But at the same time, because the bickering is now gone, and again, 1 hour of bickering is going to lower performance usually for a day or two for a lot of people. You could argue against that and say, oh, no, you should be tough. Who wants to hear somebody who they love dearly coming at them like that, though? Right? I mean, how is that healthy at all? That's abuse. It just is. So, it's not the kind of abuse where you need to get anybody involved to fix it or anything, but it's abusive. And so but it's like sublimated, right? It's like, oh, it's not that bad. It's like sublimated. No, it's a way to kind of do Chinese water torture on somebody again and again and again until they can't think straight, until it messes up their business, and then until they're not meeting their obligations to other people, and so on and so forth, right? It's important not to vent and vomit your stuff on people. But if you're in a situation where that's happening to you, even though that might have only been an hour or 2 hours a day, you have another 14 hours in a day to do your thing. At the same time, the advantage of her being gone is that even though now he doesn't have a 16-hour workday, he only has an 8-hour workday because he needs to be going out, he needs to be working on his body. And frankly, when you're all messed up, you need to be getting into your body. Sometimes the only way to get out of the pain of what happened is to get out of your brain and into your body. But what's going to happen is that if he does this, he's going to recreate who he is. So I can tell you that in my case, after every experience that I've had like this, I always recreate who I am. These are times when you can sit there and you can honestly look at who you want to be next. Do you want to be more empathetic? Do you want to be a nicer person? Do you want to be a happier person? Do you want to be a more passionate person? You have time to actually look at this. It's very, very important that you do it. And I do this all the time. I always take 100% responsibility for whatever it is that happened. I'm not there to blame somebody else. And then what happens is that you want to kind of go into what it is that you did wrong and understand that and fix it. Maybe over the first couple months, put a lot of time into thinking about that, or even ask the other person what happened. But then from there, what you've got to do is then you've got to get back into having fun. And look, I mean, imagine if instead of him sitting there being sad about it, instead what he did was he got into skydiving. He got into traveling and going to the great outdoors, whitewater rafting. He got into doing skiing. He got into having parties. He got into going out to bars and clubs, meeting people, got into meeting people everywhere, got into, working on his body, and, just got into maybe like healthier food and things like that, meditation, spiritual practices. And imagine that they bump into each other in 3 years, what that's going to look like. And it's not about the other person feeling that they made a mistake. That's going to happen no matter what if you're in personal growth. It's always a mistake to get rid of somebody if they're into personal growth because they're always getting better. That's like less than 0.1% of people into personal growth. But the thing is that it's not about that, but rather it's about your own self-respect, that you didn't let yourself go into self-termination or self-harm. Let yourself just like get utterly beaten down by the situation, just like literally allowing yourself to just be beaten down. That's not a healthy thing to do at all. You should never, ever let that happen, okay? And if you're not careful and you go through an experience like this and you don't get right back on the horse right away, then you can have a sad day, another sad day, and then your mind takes over and you wind up harming yourself, or your life is just trash. So never, ever let that happen. Now, that being said, on the positive note, if you just jumped on here, we have an incredible, incredible event coming up right here in Los Angeles, California, December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. It's going to be so absolutely incredible. If you're just getting on here, jump on there now. Fly in for it, okay? If you're anywhere in California, I don't care if you're in San Francisco, San Diego, LA, wherever you are in California, drive in for this event. We extended it to 3 days to make it justifiable to drive in. If you're in Arizona, you're in Nevada, get in here. But the truth is, anywhere in America, you should be flying in for this event. It's completely for free. It's the kind of event that would probably normally cost about minimum a couple thousand, maybe 5K, 10K, and it's completely for free. Get in. We're going to be covering how to make a ton of cash, social skills, all the different buyer seller dynamic stuff that we talked about here in social dynamics, the kind of OG skills that we don't even bring up these days will be in person here. You will be learning all sorts of incredible things about spiritual growth, the latest, most cutting edge stuff. I'll be there. The team are going to be there all Friday night, then all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Make sure that you fly in. You've got to do it, okay? Now, if for some reason you can't fly in, that's such a shame because it's our last free event for about 6 months. I just finished this. It's the big grand finale, this huge big tour that we did. Then grab this instead. It's called higherpurposeprogram.com. This program right here, again, if 10 or 15,000 people watch this live, there need to be 10 or 15,000 people in here because this thing is an incredible program. I wrote it out very, very, very structured. A lot of that OG content, things that I'm not going to be posting here, and it's all in there. It's a completely free program that you could do from anywhere in the world. It's got the best of those original social skills right in there, and then it's got the classic content about personal growth that if you haven't seen, you're not going to understand many of the videos that I'm creating. You've got to be inside that program, okay? Higher Purpose Program is something that everybody loves. People come up to me on the street about it all the time. Higher Purpose Program, that was amazing. Thank you for making that available for free. I did that, frankly, to make the world a better place, but at the same time, I can't care about your success more than you, so you've got to care enough about your success. That program is not going to be up forever. We're not going to be having a free program up forever, so just go grab it right now and just get through the door before the window closes. Grab that. So I'm looking forward to meeting you in person. Look at this. We're offering a free event in LA. You know that that's going to cost us well into over $100,000 to put on. And then you have a completely free course here that we host completely for free. And this is because I care about you personally. I love you, but I can't care about your success more than you. So please just take advantage of this while I'm doing it. This will be the last free event that I'm putting on for quite a long time, okay? So love you very much. I hope that you enjoyed this idea about the buyer-seller dynamic. I'm just going to check a couple questions. Let's see if we have any useful questions on here. Could you just go up a little bit right here? Just if you see any good questions, I'm happy to answer questions. I did shoot this live, but you got to zoom up for me because these questions kind of suck. So let's go up a little bit. Let's just keep going. Let's see if there's any questions that we have here. I see a lot of interesting comments. A lot of people talking about the good old days. One comment that I really like here is that somebody said he's already winning having Owen as his friend, and thank you. That's actually what I told him. I said, bro, I got you. You should just come out here. We should just start going out. Okay? Yeah, these questions are all right. If you have any more questions, I'm happy to grab a couple questions. If you guys want any, how to beat depersonalization, that word is vague. You'd have to be a little bit clearer in what you mean by that. I know what that means in different contexts. What if you just want to get married and pump out some kids immediately? Okay, that's a great question that you just said right there. So understand that it is 10x important. Like my buddy was in a healthy marriage as well. It is 10x important to do the things that I said if there's kids on the line. Okay, if there's kids on the line, you got to do that even more importantly. Okay, even more important. Somebody mentioned that you got married and you're happy for things that you learned from Owen and the crew. Thank you, bro. But keep in mind, it's also important that you do this. Look, let me tell you something. My buddy sent me a video compilation of these beautiful moments with his wife. And it said the word together on it. And you see her soft eyes, and you see her love for him. And it was amazing how, he told me he was like these cold eyes, like as if she doesn't even recognize me. And that is often what happens in a breakup is you have what's called an RAS flip, where it goes from idealization to demonization, and the person gets amnesia towards all the great things that you did. And because their biology is telling them, this person is beta, get away, get away, get away, get away. And then they're reframing things, then even taking small things, reframing them as negative. So that's like, your best friend will go into somebody that's demonized you like that if you're not on top of it, okay? So that is something that you do. If you love the person, you want them to stick around, do it. If you kind of don't care that much, then don't do it, okay? Another one is, I want to make another little point here. There's another one here that says how to staff bad energy. That's the kind of thing, bro, where you got to work on your spelling. I don't know if that helps you, but just please work on your spelling. And then Goron says, I can't talk, have trouble moving, and finding the right words. Oh, I see, it's depersonalization. That one there, I'd advise you to get professional help. Okay, I would definitely advise you to get professional help. Okay, and then how to love a person again and be in abundance instead of scarcity and getting hurt after a breakup. That again comes down to you have to heal the energy body inside yourself, which means that you go back into, again, partying, having fun, meeting new people, healing yourself, just loving life. Like it should take you about 90 days to kind of clear off the main energy. And then from there, you should, look, realistically, we all know that being single is more fun than being in a relationship. We all understand this. So you should be at a point where you're embracing your freedom and you're having way fun, okay? Okay, so, hey, Owen, how would I go about moving and living with me? That's lack of social calibration there. That's obviously not possible. So learn social calibration. How do you look attractive people in the eye for an extended period without a sad face or negative thoughts? That is really a problem if you can't do that. So if I were you, I mean, I'm not even gonna get into that right now. I mean, that is heavy stuff if you can't do that. So I would just suggest go out more and work on yourself internally. Okay, so that's a couple of quick questions. Hope that you enjoyed the quick questions. Look, love you very much. Thank you for being here. Again, make sure right now, as soon as I end this, get signed up to fly into LA. Look, you can fly into LA. I should have really said this to start. You can fly into LA. You can figure this out. Find a way to get in here to Los Angeles. It's going to be the most incredible life-changing experience. And in the meantime, as soon as you get off here, higherpurposeprogram.com, you are going to be so incredibly happy when you get in there. Such a simple thing to do, like such an awesome thing to do with minimal effort. Boom, hop in there, enjoy it, and I'll be back with more soon. Remember that validation seesaw? Remember the buyer-seller dynamic? Remember what happened to my poor friend, one of the most heroic people that you've ever seen? Didn't deserve that, but didn't follow the correct information. And it can happen to the best of us. Happened to me too, okay? Love you. Be back with more. Peace.